go a little wider. Brings ball back for Marshall. The footwork. Benji Marshall. Now the speed. The footwork again. Away from Peachy. Passes without looking. Away for Richards. Back to Fitzhenry. That is as good as you will see.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast. I'm your host, Dan. We have a jam-packed episode today, starting with Market Watch, getting in-depth analysis on the buyer planning, and then we'll talk trades and captain choices after we answer a few listener questions. But first, today we're blessed to have a special guest on. I'm sure you've all seen the work he's done posting in-depth analysis and stats across Supercoach groups. The stats man himself, Perso. Welcome, mate.
There you go, boys. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to be on, mate. Before we continue on, tell us a bit about yourself, mate. I'm sure everyone already has seen you watch on Facebook and everything, but how long have you been super coaching for, and how you going this year?
About 10 years or so, and now we're going this year. Shithouse.
Well, join the group, mate. That's why you're here.
Yeah, about the worst year I've ever had. I'll get into that in a bit. But a lot of you older boys would know I've been doing podcasts for years, since about 2013. We did the old addicts and did a full season with Supercoach Talk as well, and then got a bit busy. I couldn't keep doing them, but always jump on them. I jump on a few of the All-Stars boys, and I'm sort of in the process of sorting one out myself at the moment to come back in the scene of things. So it's a little bit different to all the other pods that everyone's doing at the moment, because there's so much good content out there. There's so many different podcasts now. It's really cool. It's a really cool community. So the whole idea behind the one I'm going to be launching later this year which most of the boys are on board with, is the podcast collective, where it's sort of get to know the voice behind the podcast type thing, more in depth, knowing the people that are doing it and how they got into footy and how they got into Supercoach and all that sort of stuff. So that should be pretty cool. But yeah, as far as my season goes, I had the worst round one, like you couldn't imagine. It was horrendous. I got 650 in round one. I had about four blokes go down injured. I captained the Cheese for one against Tigers. I was ranked 108k round one. So
wow.
I've had green arrows every week. I'm back up to about 25 now. It's not hard to have green arrows when you're ranked 108, but anyway.
Well, for all the listeners at home, this is the reason why I brought him on, to make me feel better about myself. In saying that, he's still beating me this week as well, so I can't say much there. Well, mate, good to have you on, mate. It'd be good to get to listen to the pod that you come up with, and looking forward to hearing it. All right. So, also, as usual, we have Glen with us again, mate. How was your week, mate?
Not too bad. I got 1,306. So there's a few problems. I had Ola out, so I had to play Tuolagi. I missed my side around a bit, so I ended up having to cap Pappenhausen instead of Hines, so that hurt a bit. Moved me up to 7K. So I'm still way behind where I usually am, but it's better than all you boys, so I can't whinge.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think the only one here making us look like a respectable podcast is Glen at the moment. So we'll have you on every week until you start getting outranked by me, mate. Okay. So, all right. And back after a sit in the sidelines, Brod's back, mate. How was your week?
Yeah, I had a better week. Probably helped out by Glenny's fucking choices to help me out. So just looking forward to Supercoach racing. So looking at my horses, doing my trades. So coming up soon.
Yeah, something that I have no idea about horses, but I actually had a better rank, much better, more respectable rank last year in the horse racing. So looking forward to getting back into that as well, make myself a bit more respectable. And as usual, with us again, back from Supercoach 360 is Timmy O. Timmy O, mate, how are you?
Doing very well, boys. Thanks very much for having me on. Yeah, not a bad week this week. It's my fourth big green in a row, thank God, after not quite as far back as Perso, but I was in 65,000 about 4 weeks ago and now just cracked 25. So, yeah, had a 1,285. Much like Glen, had Olakau'atu, had to play Tuolungi. A couple others didn't quite go my way as well, but that's the way it goes. Sometimes the joys of Supercoach. We keep on keeping on and do it again next week.
Enjoys?
Oh,
what's that word?
Joy normally is followed with green arrows, but we don't see them very often.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realise the app had green.
It's actually funny you say that. Both of you guys had Olakau'atu. So I'm actually in a very competitive head-to-head where I was against one of my mates, and Olaquatu was out. He traded him in that week. And I said, mate, I told him, I said, listen, mate, Olaquatu's out, yeah. I'm against him head-to-head, and I'm still trying to help him out. And he goes, yeah, how do I fix it? I can't trade him out. I traded him in for Taff or someone like that who already played. And I was like, I actually helped him out just so he could beat me. That was that's how selfless I am there. So
top bloke, man. Top bloke.
Yeah. Oh, unlucky.
And he played Burbo.
And I played Burbo. Yeah, I may as well have a crack, and he did all right. So every decision I made this week was right. However, except Captain Turbo, I figured I brought him in. I may as well captain him. And yeah, I got it at 1175 and stayed flat at my little 42,000 rank. So nothing much to brag about there. All right, let's move on to the news. Glenn, what have we got for us this week, mate?
Yeah, it's not a lot, mate. So I've just talking about players in and out mostly this week. What I will quickly add is that we've had a few duels added to Supercoach this week. So Talakai is now from round 12 will be centre wing second row. Garrick has had fullback added to his status. Luke Brooks is now 5'8" halfback, and Gardner from the Tigers is centre wing second row. Also on the watch list to possibly get dual status at some point is Elliott from the Bulldogs, Dylan Brown from Parramatta, and Savage from the Raiders. The injury list, we've got Cameron Murray undergoing procedure. He's out 3 to 4 weeks. Pappenhausen, as we all know, had a hammy, and he's also got a PCL injury, minimum 4 weeks. Remus Smith, 10 to 12 weeks. Jared Croker, 2 to 3 weeks. Aiken to pass HIO protocols along with Edric Lee and Ken Mamalo. So just if you've got them in your side, most would have Aiken, I'd imagine. Just keep an eye on the HIO protocols to see if they're in. Jack Johns, broken arm, and Mike Osebo is closing in on a return. The additions are Haas has been named and capable for the Broncos. Schuster is on the extended bench, so just watch that he doesn't come in and push Bullimore back to the bench. Tohu Harris is back. Taff is fighting sickness, and Nick Arima's on the bench so he's just joined the Bunnies. Meany at fullback for the Storm, replacing Pappenhausen. Mulatalo is back for the Sharks. Cecilia is back into second row for the Roosters. So I know a few people were pretty sad on that last week. And Hines has been moved to fullback and Trindle into the halves. And that's it, mate. That's all I got.
Yeah, a bit of injury news there. So there's a few little burning questions here as well. So I know a lot of people out there have Murray and Pappy. So I'll go to Perso first. If you got Murray, mate, who would the best option would be to trade him into? You reckon? Who are your thoughts?
It depends who you've got and who you haven't got at the moment, I suppose. But you've got to get rid of him. We've been out for probably 4 weeks in Origin through that period. He's been the second best, aside from Papali'i so far. So I'd be looking at Olaquatu if you didn't have him with the bye coverage, and he's been pretty much killing it. Even though he's been out the last 2 weeks, and late scratching last week really hurt me. But he'd be a good option. Colin Matangi is another one that's been going really well, the edge forwards. If you could afford to hold him a week, you could probably have a look at Tohu Harris and see how he goes. He's been named on the edge this week. If he plays 80, he could be a sneaky little option as well. But there's not really a lot of premium guys in the second row killing it above and at 70 average. There's heaps around that high sort of 60 odd. But fair few of them play Origin, like Yo's 65, but he's playing Origin. And so Olaquatu would probably be my first target, especially if you've already got Papali'i and the other guys that might hurt you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'll go Brod for the next one. Pappy, mate. I think everyone's got Pappy. Everyone that's playing seriously anyway.
Gosh,
you haven't got
this question.
I'm asking you, just to pretty much show because I know you traded him out to Walt. But I'll ask anyway. If you had Puppy, Brod, who would you trade him to, mate? Who are the best options out there? Would you be targeting someone like a buy player, or would you be targeting like someone like Teddy if you didn't have him?
Yeah, well, obviously, you can sell him to Turbo, bank the 50 grand. Is probably the biggest trade one, I'd guess. But old Puppy, 4 to 6 weeks, which will be 6 to 9 weeks, as we know. But yeah, it'd be Puppy going for the points. Is Turbo the right one this week? In the wet, probably not. But just stay off him.
Yeah, I brought him in last week, and worst thing that could have happened, and I know you did too, bro. The worst thing that could have happened was Puppy goes down. Now everyone's going to have him. He was 2% owned. In saying that, from the trades I can see in the trade-ins, he's only 6% traded in. So he's still going to be at pod level, which is really good because there is a lot of doubt. A lot of people trying to think whether they should bring him in for a couple of weeks before he goes into that bye period as well. So he could still have that pod status for a bit longer yet. So, all right, let's move on to the market watches for trading. So I'll go to Timmy first. Number one, mate, Burbo. A lot of risk there, but are you bringing him in?
Not at this stage, mate. It's a little bit trappish, I think, in some ways. There's no guarantee at the moment that he's actually going to keep his spot. Ola Kawatu's obviously got to come back in this week. You've got Schuster's got to come back as well. You don't exactly know where he's going to fit. Are they going to try and push him into second row? Are they going to play him as a centre? You just don't know. For me, it's a bit of a wait. I know you're going to lose some cash, or not so much lose cash, but miss out on a big jump if he has a decent game. But I don't know. Everyone seems to think that the Broncos are going to be a pushover this week, and I'm a Broncos member and long-term member, but I think they've been playing well enough. I'm actually tipping them this week, and I haven't done that for a while. I think good things are coming to the Broncos. So, yeah, look, I don't think they're going to be pushovers at all, and I think some Manly fans might go home a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, well, mate, he's hoping for you, but I have Turbo and Burbo, so I hope they get smashed. No offense.
Yeah, no offense, Timmy. Obviously, another huge Broncos fan, but pretty sure I now own like 6 Manly players. So I don't know if it's a buy round, but I hope we get tailed up just a little bit, or it's 60-50, one of the two.
Good time for you to start looking at BBL, mate.
Racing first, mate. Don't worry about that.
I'll move on to the next one. Number 2 traded in. This is pretty much a very obvious one. Glen, Hines. If you haven't got Hines, I think Pappy to Hines is a very good option there. I understand that Hines probably will be playing potentially 14 now for Origin, the Blues team. So your thoughts on Hines, Glen?
Oh, mate, if you didn't start him there, then why not? Like 100% you'd be going Hines. That would be my trade this week. I mean, Turbo's break-even's 130s. His matchups are quite hard coming up. Although I'm going to Turbo, I already have Hines, and I think I want to have 2 premium fullbacks. But Hines 100%. I can't believe how many didn't have him, and I'm just going to shout out there, Roscoe. I kept telling you to buy him week after week after week, and you kept telling me no.
I'm waiting for him to listen to this pod and then send you a text tomorrow just to say, thanks for the shout out. All right, moving on. Next, I'll go to Perso. Turbo, mate. If you didn't have him, would you bring him in this week or would you hold off?
To be honest, probably not. I started with him, which is another line to start the season. But he doesn't. To me, he just doesn't look like he's fully fit. Like he's not running as freely as he has been. He's he's still going right, but he doesn't look like he's just killing it like he was last year, running across the field. A lot of opposition defences are sort of numbering up on him, and he's got Origin just around the corner. Manly's got a pretty tough draw prior to round 13 for the bye, and then he'll make Origin. He's going to get rested. So
yeah, that's the issue.
I'd pretty well be looking at Turbo for the run home. I don't think I could go to him now. If I had Pappenhausen, if you already had all the guns, if you already had Hines and Cleary and all the guns are going to hurt you, there's a world where you could probably even keep Pappy. It's going to be bloody hard to find that coin and get him back again.
Yep.
But I don't think I'd go to Turbo, to be honest. Everyone's going to be doing it this week, so it could be a bit of an anti-pod move not doing it.
Yeah, I watched that game because obviously I was watching that game very closely as a new Turbo owner last week, and I thought he was definitely improved. The way he ran sideways, created a lot of space. If Gary could learn to catch that bloody ball, he would have had another try assist, line break assist. So, in saying that, Gary bloody played pretty well himself that game in the end, but yeah, it didn't help me in the end. But I'll go to the next one as well. So Teddy is. So I haven't got Teddy. I've got Paps and Turbo in my team right now. The smart choice for me would be to go to Teddy, but I also want to try to look at catching up some ground over that bye period as well. But Teddy's the next most traded in there at $6.99. I'll go to you, Brod. Do you reckon that's a good option there, mate? Personally, for me, this is me asking you a question for my personal team.
No, well, you need to catch up some places, so I'd I'd look for some Poddish good runs in that middle of the bye period. We all know that Teddy's obviously the fullback and captain, so he's going to miss chunks, and he probably doesn't get rested, but in that period with the way that Roosters are going. But so I see them probably playing him during those games because they can't afford to drop too many more. So I'm kind of going against myself here in both ways, but for you, it's a little bit Poddish. I think we need to look at.
Yeah. Well, I'll move on to Timmy for the next one. This is the guy that I was actually probably leading to.
I think Glenny's got something to say on this.
Yeah, can I just chime in quickly, Dan?
Of course
I want to read something out on Tedesco. So his break even is 9. He's averaging 72. He's had 84, 88, 94, and 126. But these are his matchups. And I just think that if you are thinking about bringing Tedesco, at least have a look at this. The Eels, Panthers, Sharks, Raiders, Storm, Eels, Panthers. There's nothing easy in there. And the one that's against the Raiders, he won't even be in because that's the bye round. So, I mean, that's a pretty tough matchup for a side that's struggling.
Did I say something right, Glenn? Did I get the one right then? Don't get him.
Yes, you're working really well there. You're learning, Danielson. Well, the next one I was looking at, this is the guy that I was leaning towards as my kind of Poddish move. He's number 6 traded in this week is Ruben Garrick. Timmy, your thoughts on Ruben Garrick, mate? You reckon he's a better option?
Yeah, look, I actually like it as a pod move myself, especially if he's going to get dual in a couple of weeks' time. He's going to be really handy if you can move him between centre wing and fullback as well. Might be a good way later on to get the cash to go back to Paps as well. So you might find that Garrick peaks at a point and it may even be a straight swap or close to it to go straight back to Pappenhausen, especially if he's got the duels and you can move. Like there's Suwali down there. You've got one of the Manly wingers you can move around as well. So there's enough players now that are centre wing fullback dual to move guys around that's going to help fill a gap.
Yeah, no, I think I'm leaning towards that as well. And the price there, I end up banking about 300k there as well. So this gives me the option of going Randall to Grant as my second trade. So that's what I'm thinking. I like that idea of being stuck with Starling and Randall for too long. All right, move on to the next one. Another potential Poddish move, which probably not as much Poddish at the moment. Glen, Drinkwater, 668, mate. He plays the bye round as well. Do you reckon he's an option, or have you missed the boat on him?
Yeah, I think if you were going to jump on Drinkwater, you should have done it 2 weeks ago. Look, I will say on Drinkwater, he's got a break even of 30. He's averaging 85. His PPM is 1.1, which is phenomenal numbers. He's had a 94, 102, 113, and 74. His matchups are Tigers, Storm, Panthers. So, I mean, 2 of those games, I wouldn't even consider playing him in. But he is an option possibly to bring in actually on the bye round to run him then versus Titans, Dragons, Manly, Broncos, and sell for the second bye. So I would actually look at bringing him in if you were going to do it round 13, because I think the 2 tough matchups, it's a lot of money to sit on your bench. And I said that last week.
Well, that's really the problem there, I reckon, with him as well. I know that's a good idea to bring him in for that round, but if he's going to play 2 rough teams before that bye period, before that round 13, he's also going to have a very high break even in that round 13 as well. I'm about to lose some cash right before you get him in.
Yeah.
So just after you get him in, sorry. So it could be just bad timing, really, with that draw.
Sitting on the bench still, so
yeah, that's it.
Have a bad start, having straight into that fullback spot.
Yeah, you don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to as soon as they get smashed by Penrith and Melbourne, are they going to just drop Drinkwater altogether? Oh, not altogether. Put him back on the bench because I think Drinkwater's a better 14 than Hammer. So in saying that, he's killing it. So all right, move on to Perso. Next one here on the list, mate. Harry Grant, I think this is a no-brainer. I haven't got him, and I feel like I have to get him in. He's killing me every bloody week. I keep saying, I'll get him after the bloody Origin. I'll get him after Origin. And every week I get bloody smashed by him. What are your thoughts on Grant, mate?
It's pretty obvious, really. He's 24.9 points better than Cook.
Yeah.
There's only 3 hookers averaging over 60 at the moment. That's Harry Grant's 94.9, Cook 70, and Ruben Cotter is available at hooker is averaging 60.7. So I mean, if you haven't got Grant, it's killing you at the moment.
Yeah, that's exactly why I'm so bad. Yeah, that's it. It hurts every single week, and all my head-to-head opponents have him every week as well. So, and I'll go to Brod again. This one here is a bit of a pod move as well. Everyone's bringing him in. Number 9 is Meany. I don't actually agree with this trade-in. I think being at fullback may hurt him a little bit. What are your thoughts, Brod?
Yeah, I don't think it's the right move. I haven't looked at him at all. Glen's probably got some nice little stats I see him looking at, so he's probably got some numbers that I can't rattle off. But he's obviously no Pappenhausen. He's no Hines. He's not going to bring that X factor into the game. If you're running off the back of Munster and Hughes, anything could happen. But yeah, he doesn't have that X factor for me to bring him in and yeah. Come on, Glenn. Tell me your stats for him.
You haven't got any?
Anything down for him, mate. That's what I was looking to see. I'm surprised that I haven't. But I actually don't mind the play. I don't mind the Meany play because the Storm gets so many points. I'd like to take a look at him at fullback. I'm not 100% either way. But I think it's a pod play. I don't dislike it. I mean, fullbacks, as we all know, and look, Perso, I'll tell you this, second rowers and fullbacks in past, prior to last season, where it was all wingers, have always been gold at centre wing. So if you can land a good fullback or a good centre wing in your second row, you'll usually do well.
Yeah, I just think I like Meany as a winger a bit better. I think he has that more attacking upside. He's been killing it on the wing this year at the moment, so I've been really excited to watch him. But at fullback, I just think he might lose some of those attacking stats. So that's my theory there, anyway.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
He's been he's on the end of the back line at the moment and killing it the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I think with Pappenhausen out, you're going to get more ball to Munster. He's not going to chime in like Pappenhausen does, so it could well hurt his Supercoach stats at fullback, Manny, I reckon. I agree.
Yeah. One thing I will say, another pod move. He's not on this list or anything, but with Pappenhausen out for a few weeks, I like Hughes. I think Hughes, because a lot of the points get shared around. And I think Hughes might be a sneaky little pod option in the halves there. I know he's not playing the bye or anything, but I just think I like the option there. As we've all known, there's a lot of points to be shared around there. And I think with Meany at fullback, those points might get more shared between Munster, Harry Grant, Hughes. I think that's probably where the points are going to go. So that could be an option there as well.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
I just don't understand why they've gone Meany there. I think they could have come up with a better solution. Storm.
I think what they've done there is they don't want to be changing positions around like crazy. So ideally, I reckon Munster would be pretty good back there. But I also believe Munster, if they put Munster at fullback and then they get someone else in the 5'8", it just moves too many positions around. So I think what they're doing is working really well, obviously. But I think that Munster moving positions too often might just hurt the team as a whole. So,
would it be the same amount of moves that they're doing now, Bob?
Well, they're just moving one centre, one winger to fullback.
Yeah, so all you do is bring a 5'8" to...
Yeah, but you want to have that. I just don't think it. I think it works better moving Meany back there. In saying that, they won't have the attack as they have done in the past. But
just don't have Seve in the team and you'll be fine.
Oh, I'm liking Seve there. I reckon Targo and May might have a bit of fun on that side. So I saw Glen over there looking ready to talk. Excuse me.
No, all I was going to say is that it's what Monster offers also in defence, not just attack to that Storm and outfit. Whereas I don't think they could get a like for like. Whereas at fullback, it's easier to replace and bring them into the way they play. The spine, of the Storm, you couldn't go wrong buying any one of them. But I think that it's their defence is the reason why they probably don't want to move him. The Storm, especially against a side like the Panthers, it's going to be a defensive game by both sides. But that's my opinion on that anyway, why they're keeping Munster at 5'8".
Alrighty, let's move on to the trade outs quickly. We go through this quickly. Puppy and Murray up top there makes sense. Both out for extended period of time. Next one's Tuolangi. I think Tuolangi is just not showing that what we saw in the trials. I think he looked all right with that disallowed try, but he's just not showing any consistency there. And any stage he'd be off the field. Does everyone agree with that trade out?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's not playing the bye either, so.
He's trashed that every week I try to find a way to get him out, and I just haven't managed to jag doing it yet. And
You're right.
Unfortunately, it generally means I have to play him each week. His 25 to 30 points just stings me every single week, and I just keep trying to find ways to get rid of him, and I still haven't done it.
I'm not at Timmy's level of having to play him yet, but it's the same thing. Like, if you've got a luxury trade to trade him out, then you know what? good on you. Your team must be good. So
Yeah.
He's been a slow burner kid. He's looked good, but then when games he's looked good, he's got a head knock and gone off and not come back, and he has missed the next week. And gets a disallowed trial, or he's just been so frustrating. He could have made a great cow, but he's frustrating. But yeah, if you are looking to downgrade and generate some cash, like someone to a Burbo or something like that, it's a good move. But he's not going to hurt you by holding him there. If you've got him in your side, you're probably not playing him. I had to play him last week at the last minute because Okalatu went out, so that hurt me. But if you had him this week, you wouldn't be playing him. So he's not a definite sell, but I couldn't begrudge anyone moving him on to make
that's probably the right play for people that are looking at Burbo. Like that's somewhere where I would see it as a viable option. You trade down to Burbo, bank 120, 150K, whatever it is, and take the money and run basically. But yeah, the hard part is there's not a lot of players around similar value that are going in the opposite direction. Like there's not too much that's going up. We've had, we've had Tamari Martin, we've had RC, we've had a few other guys they're sort of cheaper value that just haven't really gone on a run in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So it's I think it's a cash generation thing to go down to Burbo, but I mean, I think that's really about all it is at the moment until we have some more solidification as to how he's going to play in the Manly squad long term.
They just hit Tuolangi, but on those runs, if they just pass it to him instead of making him the dummy runner, like he could go over so many times. Every time they're passing out the back.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky that I had the luxury of one thing I have done right is I've got a lot of squad depth, so I haven't needed to play him. So I'm not really rushing to sell him out at the moment because I feel like the way he does play, his style of play, there's going to be attacking sacks coming all at once. And I don't want to miss that, but I don't have to play him. So I'm happy to let him sit there, but I don't begrudge anyone for trading him this week. I think he's been sitting there for too long and doing nothing. And next on the list, we got Targo. I don't agree with this at all. I think one of the biggest trade outs this week is Targo the Burbo. I think that's a terrible trade. Targo, especially this week, he's up against Seve. You watch now. Everyone's been saying that Seve is a bad defender. You watch Targo get 30 again, but he's a solid number to have in that buy round. Glenn, your thoughts on Targo being traded out, man? I know you in the last few weeks have been pretty much saying the same thing.
Kane's been trying to sell us all week at this same thing that you're trying to sell me now, to play Targo versus Storm. Look, I'm just going to tell everyone out there, don't listen. Don't play backs versus Storm. Don't play backs versus the Panthers. That's my straight up opinion on that. But having said that, I think you'll find most people selling Targo are probably head-to-head players, so they really don't give a stuff around the buy. I would hope anyway. I wouldn't think an overall player would be doing it. It's nonsensical to me. He's a buy-round player in a ceiling club that, they have got a couple of hard games, but in those easy ones, him and May combine very well, don't they, for points?
Yeah, that's it. Next on the list, we have Jai Arrow. I think I've got Jai Arrow myself, and I'm happy to hold him, especially this week, to see how he goes at lock. A lot of his minutes might change a little bit, but he's been getting bugger all at the moment anyway. He's been getting about 55 to 60 minutes every week, and his work rate hasn't really been there. However, his work rate by right should pick up. And I think I heard on another podcast, I agree with 100%, is that with Host on the edge, I don't see Host playing 80 minutes. So I think you might see Arrow shift to the left edge again and play like a bit of a reverse what he has been in the last few weeks. Sorry, got bugs everywhere. I think Arrow might play around that 65, maybe even 70 minutes like Arrow, like Cam Murray has. Your thoughts on that, guys? I'll go to you, Glenn.
Look, I think it could be one of those wait and see. I don't know. I don't like it. I think I don't know what the word to put on. I think it might be just an illusion. I think he'll play the same minutes as he's played at front row. I don't think his position in the team will change much in what he does, defend and run. I don't really like Arrow. I never did.
Yeah, he's been doing a job for me, but it seems to be his work rates seems to have gone down. Perso, your thoughts on Arrow?
I tend to agree with Glenn on that. I was never a huge fan to start with, and then on the edge, he's been playing edge and middle all season basically. So and then not getting the big minutes with Murray out. He'll start at lock. He'll get through a lot more defence, but he won't. Host it's been a weird rotation that he's been going, because originally the first couple of rounds, Colin Matangi wasn't playing 80, and Arrow was playing bigger minutes, and then Colin Matangi went back to playing 80, and then the host was coming on for Arrow, and he was shuffling to the middle a bit and going off. But if you had Arrow, you'd probably hold him. You certainly wouldn't be looking at bringing him in, but I wouldn't be surprised if that Trent Peoples gets another run. But he got a run last week, and he was real outstanding.
Good. Yeah.
So with Murray out and Arrow moving to the middle, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes on and plays. He played 60 minutes last week and had like 60 odd base and 64 minutes or whatever it was on the edge. So he's got an offload stuff. He's one to watch. But Arrow. He's one of those guys that could be an absolute Supercoach gun if he got the minutes, and he's got that game about him. He's got an offload and a tackle break, but he never seems to get enough minutes to become irrelevant. So
yeah. I think my plan with Arrow is to hold him up until that round, watch him play round 12, and then offload him to a buy player. I think he's been doing a job for me, like quite average, but just plotting along and not hurting me. So I was thinking about using him at decent price point there. I could probably get him to a decent buy player in the second row for me. So, all right, next up in the trade outs are Schneider. I think Schneider, if you held him this long, do you reckon it's still time to move him on? I'll go to you, Brod.
I'd probably would. There's probably some better ones out there, especially if you're going to trade him. If you've got Cam Murray or Puppy, if you're trading him with one of those two, then you can upgrade two positions pretty well. He's just not. He's got a good game, but Raiders just aren't scoring. Does he take more control now that Whiten's out and Crawley's there? Who knows? I'll trade him.
Yeah, I think I agree. I traded him out a few weeks ago. My plan was to hold for the buy, but he wasn't showing much to me. So next on the list there, Brodie Jones is another big trade out. I think that's a no-brainer. He hasn't been showing much at all there. This is another surprising one, guys. Number 7 traded out is Talakai. This is a bit of a shock to me. I'll go to you, Glenn. Oh, sorry, I'll go to you, Tim. Would you be trading Talakai out right now?
No, personally, I was one of the late ones at jumping on. I've only had him for a couple of weeks. I sure as hell aren't selling him. I got him because I needed to catch the guys in front. So it was a case of needing to bring in similar players that had the higher ceiling. I don't think Shark's jaw is too bad. He's certainly not somebody that I'd be getting rid of. It's going to be interesting with Hines named at fullback this week, whether that has a positive influence on Talakai or not. Hines seems to like going left, and I can see that only benefiting him as long as he's not the bloke that gets cut out and out to the winger. But yeah, personally, I think he's a hold, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think especially with the positional change happening very soon, you can just chuck him down in the centre wing and be stoked.
Yeah,
I'd be stoked with a minimum 45 points every week. And then with the upside you got there, it's just I just don't see the point. I haven't even got him, and I missed that boat, and I wasn't prepared to pay overs for him. I wanted to say I missed that boat, and that was my choice, and it's hurt me. But yeah, I'm not trading him out if I got him.
Can I just speak to that quickly, Dan?
Go for it.
Yeah, so I think the reason people are probably trading him out would be based on his break even, and they're following the money. I think it's madness. I mean, the draw that they've got coming up is Raiders, Titans, Roosters, by Warriors, Titans, Dogs, Storm. So it's a fairly nice run. And I think the fact that Jesse Ramian's out, they played right last week, and he still managed to score fairly well for a centre wing if you got him at centre wing. So I think that if you move him down to centre wing, you'll be quite happy with that draw coming up and Ramian out. I think they'll tend to shift left more than they did last week where they attacked on the right side.
Yeah.
I think I'll only drop him if he goes back to the bench. And even at that, it's probably wait a week to see what his role is. He's that impact player that just runs like a freight train. He might not do it every set of 6, but every time they give him the ball and they give him the ball early, he's a bloody hard monster to tackle. So until he goes to the bench, and like I said, I'll still give him a week once he goes to the bench and see what sort of role he plays. He might be the sort of guy that comes on after 20 minutes, plays the last 60, and still tons up. So especially if once he goes down to centre wing, he's not the bloke that's going to give you 15 or 20 like we talked about on the show last week or the week before. So you get him down in centre wing, he's going to average 50 odd plus, I would think. He's safe points, and you don't have to worry about playing the gimps that are in the teens and early 20s. For me personally, down in centre wing, I'd prefer to have him over someone like Coates or one of those sort of higher ceiling guys that they're going to bang out. Coates that'll bang out.
Wasn't he the big gun of the year?
I talked about it last week. I said the same thing. I don't know. I play Supercoach a little bit differently. I can't stand having centre wings that will score you 15 one week and 100 the next. And yeah, it's just different. It's the way I do it's different to a lot of other guys. But I know over the course of the season, he's averaging really well, and he probably still will through to the end of the season. But you can see already, like Meany seems to be getting the ball more than what Coates does. Coates is going to be like Adokar. He'll score 4 tries and still barely ton up. He does go looking for the ball a little bit more than what Adokar has in the past. But it's hard with those Storm wingers. I'd take someone versatility like Talakai any day of the week.
That's it. Well, speaking of duds that score 15 and 20, the next two on the list are Stags and Coates. Glenn, your thoughts on selling Stags and Coates, mate? Would you be selling either of them?
Well, I had Stags, sold Stags, bought Stags back, and then sold him again. That's the dumbest thing that I've done all season.
Coming from a guy that sold his 5'8" 12 times as well. So,
right. But I mean, usually I'm ranked much higher this year, and it's because of those obvious mistakes that I've made. Look, I would be selling Stags. It's just, I think the inconsistency. I think what really hurts him is Farmworth in that side. When Farmworth is in that side, they tend to play left a lot. A-Ray, look, he's a great defender. He's a great player for the Broncos. It's just not translating to Supercoach. And with Coates, I disagree on that one. If you don't own Coates, don't buy him. If you do own him, in my opinion, I would hold him.
Absolutely.
I believe that the ceiling on him is just too great to pass up on. You know, you will get your 15s and 20s, but you also get 115 and 120. So, you know, and that's what I look for in my players is ceiling.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's the trade-ins and trade-outs so far. Let's move on to buy planning. So last week we covered 4 different teams, and this time we're going to start with the next ones. So we'll start off with Manly. I reckon there's a few good players in Manly that could be great options here. I'll start with my favourite one, and that's going to be Ruben Garrick. I like Ruben Garrick. I didn't like him at the start of the year, but I'm happy to admit that I'm wrong. I reckon he might be the guy that I'll be going from Pappenhausen. Any other thoughts there? I'll go to Perso.
For buy planning, I think Manly's probably the best side in round 13 looking forward. And there's 2 guys there, Garrick and Olakalatu, that are probably must-haves for those that are serious about buy planning. So if you didn't jump on Garrick last week, you could probably sit and jump on him for round 13, especially with the extra boosts and stuff this year. So because they got a couple of hard games. So. And then this week against Broncos, it'll be a hard game, but it's an absolute quagmire. And then I think they've got Melbourne and someone else hard from memory. So before the bye.
Yeah, Broncos Eel Storm.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a tough 3-week period. So if you didn't jump on him last week, I wouldn't see the need to jump on him this week. You could, it's fine. But he could be at a nice price by round 13. And he's definitely someone you'll hold for the season. Player matchups or Manly's starting to look really good. They're like a bit more like last year, so you could see Manly going on a run like they did last year post Origin, and he's going to be class or must have if they do that.
Yeah. Is there any sideways options out there, Rod, that could be a bit more out of the someone like me that might need to catch up a little bit from Manly?
I don't see one of the forwards. So it's it's probably the back line that you're targeting. I mean, I've already got 5 Manly players, so obviously one of them doesn't play, but I'm pretty happy with the other 4. So, but I think it's the back line, especially against the Warriors. DC's not controlling it, so Foreign I think we'll have a bit of a day.
Yeah, so that's
not
one of the questions
for him, but just saying that he'll have fun that day.
Yeah, so that was one of the questions I was going to actually ask. Who do you guys think jumps into that halfback role? So obviously, Foreign probably moves into the halfback role, but who do you reckon Schuster jumps into 5'8" that round to the bye round? Glenn?
They might give Ko Weeks a run.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
good
been
call.
performing well in the lower grades, and he's been named in the extended side every week. They might give him a run for that round.
Yeah.
Isn't the talk of Schuster taking over 5'8" when Foreign goes, but
Dylan Walker's the other possibility that could move into the halves as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, any other one there that we haven't mentioned there, Glenn?
Oh, no. Well, like you just said, all the back five. I mean, you could pretty much take any one of those back five, couldn't you? Koala, Tuapanua, Burbo. Who's the other one? Gary. Burbo. I mean, most people, I have Ola Koala, and Turbo. And I'm not getting Burbo. I just don't like the job security there.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Like I've got him, and I'm nervous about the security there. So, I'll move on to the next one. One of the guys I think might be an option there, but we might hopefully get a bit more match time in before the game starts. I'll ask you, Timmy, Schuster. Do you reckon he could be a good option as a buy player in that round 13 game if he gets a bit of game time with his injury out?
Yeah, absolutely. He's on my watch list for sure. He's a player that I'm trying to keep an eye on. Possibly to bring into 5'8" even, as opposed to having Ilias when the time comes for me to drop him. He's another player I seem to look at every week and try to find a way to get rid of him and still just can't jag it. He's definitely one that I'm keeping an eye on, Schuster, to play either in second row or 5'8". I probably prefer him probably in second row, but at the same time, as a backup 5'8" for someone, Schuster's going to get attacking stats. He'll be the kind of guy that'll finish with 50 at worst because he's going to make some tackles. He'll take plenty of ball runs in the middle of the field. He'll pick up the offload and things like that as well. So I see him as like a high base level 5'8", I guess. Yeah, so he'd be a handy player to have in there as a backup 5'8", especially if you're playing the bye specifically. So you can still hold on to Munster and have Schuster as your other 5'8" and just flick between them when Munster goes down as a rest for Storm. I don't really see that happening as much this year either. But mind you, they're in the race with Penrith, going neck and neck to try and get minor premierships. So we'll see what happens there. The only other one that no one seems to be mentioning, Marty Capel has fallen off a cliff this season. He's someone I've had basically every year that I've played Supercoach, had him at some stage in my front row. He doesn't seem to be getting the minutes. I don't know if he's upset someone. Is it because he's 100 years old now? I don't know what it is. But the bloke's playing, like he's playing half an hour. And that's just crazy. Like he can still, I would have thought he'd still be banging out 50, 60 minutes at least. He's a great front rower when he gets the opportunity. He's got a great offload, can tackle bust machine. But he just seems to have fallen off a cliff. I don't know if they're not trusting him or they're bringing the guys through like Josh Aloye and those sorts of blokes that are coming through. But yeah, he's one that I've sort of been keeping an eye on for a while as a very pod play to trade someone like an Andrew Fafita up to Capel and leave him just sit there for a while and have him as a round 13 play. The other one I'm interested in is maybe Croker as a pod play in the hooker. So there's not really much on offer for hooker for that round 13. We've sort of talked on the show about Starling. JMK is another one that I like. Cotter, everyone seems to be talking about, but I think the closer we get to Origin, the more he looks likely to be playing for Queensland off the bench. So, yeah, Croker is one that I'm definitely keeping a bit of an eye on to bring in at hooker.
You think Cotter plays Origin?
I think he'll play on the bench, mate. He plays enough positions he can fill a hole if we need him.
No way. No way.
I agree with Broad. Benny Hunt will be the 14. They're not going to pick Hunt and Cotter on the bench.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think they'll pick Hunt, but I think they'll find a spot for Cotter.
He's got to be down that pecking order pretty far.
I think those rumors started from the coach, from That's what I thought anyway. Those rumors were,
No,
he's playing so good, he could be in Origin.
Yeah,
I'm
I
hoping
can't
they're
see
all
it.
rumors. I'm hoping they're rumors because I brought him in ages ago when he was nice
So
and
did
cheap.
I.
But he's so one of my good moves.
Can I just address something on Schuster? I just wanted to say, if people are thinking that we're saying get Schuster this week, I would caution you against doing that.
No.
He's coming back from an injury, but not just that. When I watched him play, he looks a little bit overweight. He looked a little bit unfit. He needs to run a few minutes into his legs. So just give him a couple of rounds, guys. It'd be a nice one to jump on round 13 or round 12.
Yeah, someone that you could have a safe play in that round 13. But yeah, like I think he had a bit of a sit on the sideline after that first game he played. He looked good when he played, but he was definitely gassed. He needed that break. So hopefully he gets some fitness up, and then a few games in before round 13, and we can bring him in. So
I've heard that he's out for another 2 weeks. I don't know.
that's why I was confused when I saw him on the bench.
Yeah. And like I talked to Glen about how good Des is normally, but I think that since I've said that, Des has fucked the team every single week.
This is Desi, who we were talking about a couple of years ago, that just kept naming the same 17 every week. And you'd know full well 24 hours before kickoff, 4 guys would leave and 4 different blokes would come in. And then next week he'd just name the same 17. That it's like he's only got one team card and he just keeps recycling it, sending the same facts through.
He was pretty good for Manly last year.
Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah, and then just going back to his good old ways.
All right, let's move on to the Warriors, guys. They've been pretty terrible this year. However, they've got some pretty good options at that bye round, but I just don't know if I can trust them with that where that team is. Perso, any thoughts on any decent Warriors players you might want to bring in for that round 13?
It's pretty hideous round 13 options that you want to bring in and keep. Obviously, if you got 8, can you hold him? If you didn't have him, you'd probably look at possibly bringing him in because he's a guy with a dual set of wings in a row that you could hold as a 19th, 20th man through the season if you haven't had him. So he'd be one you'd look at. Big watch on Tahu this week. Obviously, he's been a bit of a pod player. Never highly owned. He's not the type of player that's going to hurt you if you don't own him. He doesn't go big, but he can consistently just punch out 70s. So if he's he looks the goods, he could be one to bring in, and you can definitely have him for the season. But there's not really a lot of, like, the backs are rubbish. SJ's gone. He's not a Supercoach player anymore. Tavanga's one that gets thrown around a bit, but with Tahu back, that's probably going to hurt. And Curran's not far back either. Curran's one that you might look at if he is back by then, but there's not really a lot of options. AFB's been extremely disappointing this year. Otherwise, he'd be one that you'd normally have on the books. Even he's playing big minutes, but he's just not punching out the scores. So there's not a lot on offer for the Warriors.
The only thing I noticed about the Warriors is they've got those players in the team that on their day could be a nice pod move. And you mentioned one earlier, and at his price, he could be that guy that you bring in for one game and then bugger him off if you're happy to offload 2 trades. That's SJ. If he was to manage, if he came in for that one round for 302K, he's very, very cheap. If he has the capability of getting that big score as a pod move just for the one round. Your thoughts on that, Glen? I saw you shaking your head.
Yeah, no, just don't. Don't listen to that. You're going to spend $300, and let's go best case scenario, get to 100 points. You've still got a $300 player in there that at any time can pull out, do his groin, or go shit. And it's just a waste of a trade, mate. You're going to have to waste 2 trades, one in, one out. I agree with Perso and the others in this. Aiken, I think, is a definite buy if you're buying him at centre wing. That's his value. I think Tohu Harris, after we've had a look at him. The only other one that I thought might be interesting was Reece Walsh. If you've got a Taff or someone like that, I think that he could be an interesting play. Bring him in for the buy and play him through just before the second buy and sell him off when he's pumped up a bit of cash.
Yeah. I like. Well, it's like I mentioned before. There's a lot of players in this that they're not consistent, but on their day they can pump out a good score. Yeah. And Walsh is one of those guys for sure. He's probably out of all of them, he's probably the pick of the bunch for that big score.
Yeah.
Come on, Walshy. Come on.
And then the other players out there that are just they can pull out a score if they need to, but that's Pompey. Not even going to touch that either. And Dejan Arce, but I'm pretty sure he'll get replaced by what's his name? CHT on his back. I'm not sure how long he's out for. I'm not sure how. I don't think the NRL physio knows how long a busted nut takes to heal. But yeah, I think honestly, I would have retired if that was me. That sounds horrific.
I wonder if you bought shares in McCain's peas or something over that time.
The old frozen peas.
I've had the chop. It's not much fun. Hey, another one, boys, that I'm interested in and just keeping a bit of an eye on. It's not somebody I would bring in before that round 13, but Matt Lodge is always really good value around then. He's the kind of bloke that can bang out a 75, 80. His biggest problem is obviously his discipline. He's got to stay on the park. He's got to not get penalised. But he is a player that you could hold if he can go on a run and not get suspended. So him and AFB, I had a look at about 2 weeks ago. I had the option to bring in a front rower, or I needed a front rower to bring in. Actually, it was with Haas last week. Had a really good look at it. Had 500K to bring in someone. There's about 6 or 8 blokes that are all around that 450, 500, 515. That play the buy, and I still couldn't make myself do it because there's too many of them, like Lodge, AFB, TPJ. There was a whole stack of them that just weren't worth the trade this far out. You get to round 13 though, and if they're playing and at the time playing big minutes, he's somebody that I would take a punt on, Matt Lodge.
Yeah, so I love Lodge and Fanua Blake. Love the work that they do. They're just like, what they're going to do. You know what the Warriors coach is going to do. And that's what, the other opposition coaches are doing. They know that Lodge and AFB are coming off that second half and coming on for the last 20, 22 minutes. Like, he just has to mix it up.
Yeah.
Because they know when to hit him. And the last 22 minutes, the Warriors are losing by 30. It's game over. It's just... Yeah.
It's too late, too little, too late to bring him back on for that last 20 minutes. They got to try and mix it up, leave one on and only take one off, or change their rotation around or something like that. Especially while Curran's out at the moment. Curran's a pretty big strike weapon that they're missing. Obviously Tohu as well. So yeah, you're right, Rod. They've definitely got to do something different.
Yeah, because they're just like Des. Like Des does the 17. You know what Warriors are going to do. The interchanges that they make a week out.
Yeah.
I jumped on Katoa last week, not knowing Tohu was back, which has obviously come back to bite me on the ass, as he, probably be a bench player at best for round 13.
I sold Katoa the week before, and he was just another player I had for ages and was trying every which way to get rid of him, and I couldn't. In the end, I used my 4th boost just to get rid of Katoa.
I started with him, and then I brought him back last week. And now Tohu's turned back up and completely screwed my planning. But then obviously I bought Walsh as a silly pod move, but I'm hoping that pays off in round 13, and then he'll be out after that.
All right, guys, let's move on to the final game of the round 13, and that's Raiders versus the Roosters. A few options in here. On the top of the list here, I got Joe Tarpany. I think his minutes actually have been quite consistent. I was watching his minutes and they're like around the 65. He's doing all right. Pump out some decent scores, but I still can't trust that bench rotation at the Raiders. There's so many quality middle forwards and even second rowers in there fighting for the minutes. Your thoughts there, Glenn, on any other Raiders that you might be interested in bringing in this week?
Yeah, I mean, if I knew that they were going to get big minutes, CHN would be in there. A few of them that I like as players, but the rotation's quite odd for the Raiders, so I would leave them alone. I think Rapana and Tapani are probably the only two I'd even consider, and even then, I just think I'm going to pass the Raiders altogether.
Yeah. My pick of the bunch would have been Rapana. I like his upside. Any others there that we haven't mentioned, Perso?
Nah, 100%. 100% agree with Glenn. I can't really go near any of the Raiders. Like, there's so many guys there that could be Supercoach guns, but just especially in the forwards, the rotation just up and down, and Riggy chops and changes. Tarpany's probably the closest to one that you could bring in, being a dual, and you could probably half for the season, but he's nowhere near relevance in the second row, and he currently ranks on 6th. that front row forward behind the likes of Tom Malolo and Pangai, who can both play.
Yeah, that's true.
13 as well. So, I'd be quite happy not having any Raiders in my round 13 side. It's just too hard to. There's just nothing doing in the backs and the forwards. So much potential, but yeah, it's just too hard with the rotation. Just none of them. They all take minutes off each other, and then Ricky sort of plays up his rotations every couple of weeks, and I'll be quite happy to leave him.
Yeah, there's one other player here that I believe is just not really living up to his potential, and that's Nick Kotrick. We've all seen what he can do as a winger. He can bust tackles. He's a quality player, but he's only 321,000. He's scoring bugger all at the moment, and I don't think it's even. He's definitely a left field option there for that one spot, but I just don't think he's showing anything this year. Really, it's disappointing because when he first came out, he was looking pretty solid in that wing spot there. Rod, your thoughts on Kotrick?
Poor guy got excited that he left the Dogs and wasn't fighting for the wooden spoon, and now he's still doing the same. No, I've got no one from Raiders. If I had Schneider and I wasn't looking to sell him, he'd be the only one that I'd play. No one else excites me, and I mean, you could risk it for one week to hope that they jag it, try in the forwards, but not worth it.
Yeah.
What about Elliott? If he gets the dual as hooker,
he won't get it, mate.
He won't get it.
No, so they don't just look at like them playing in a position or being named. They look at how many minutes they play that position on the field week in, week out. And I think that was on the countdown show last week. Sangstill was even saying that's very, very unlikely he'll get it. And I think he's right to do so. So
yeah.
One other player here, which this just proves that the Raiders have a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to giving out minutes. In the previous year, this guy was a staple in the team for 80 minutes every single week, but even he's not getting bugger on minutes. That's Elliott Whitehead. He even like last 3 or 4 years, he's been getting 80 every week, and now he's getting bugger on minutes. So it just shows you there that you just can't trust any forwards in that pack at the moment.
And he's been chopped and changed between the edge and the middle, and so there's just you have no confidence whatsoever in any of them.
Yeah, that's it.
I think Ricky's just doing anything now for a win, and it's only going to get worse, that interchange.
Yeah, totally agree. So I think we've said enough about the Raiders at the moment. So let's talk about a team that might have a bit more options here, even though their draw is a bit rough, and that's the Roosters. I think my pick of the bunch here would be Manu, but even then, I think that draw looks pretty rough. Your thoughts, Perso, on any other options for the Roosters?
The Roosters are hard. They've got a lot of good options, but if you didn't start with them or already have them, you wouldn't be sort of bringing them in because of that draw. And then after the bye, their draw is hideous. They have got the worst draw until about the end of the second bye. So, but you guys like your Tupos and guys like that are just consistent. If you already had them, or you're probably looking, you could probably normally bring in a Tupo because he's just so consistent. He'd be one that you could look at. But I got Tupanua. I've had him for a while, and that killed me last week when Robbo decided to do the old switcheroo of what he did with Crichton. And so I don't know what to do with Tupanua at the moment, but because I thought he would be a good one, we might have to hold on. But like guys like Sammy Walker and that, with their draw coming up, if you don't have them, you wouldn't bring him in. Like it's maybe a Manu, because Manu will still be a gun, and he'll play a bit of fullback while Tedesco's out with the Origin and stuff like that. But you wouldn't be looking to target too many of those guys. But everyone's going to have your Suwalis and that sort of stuff to make numbers as well. So
there's one player I'll mention here as well, with the injury to their hooker, Watson, as well. It could be a sneaky little option there. I do like Watson as a Supercoach player, but like his minutes have been up and down before his injury as well. So, Glenn, any thoughts
very
there?
Supercoach friendly game.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, that's right. Any other thoughts there, Glenn, on any other options for the Roosters that we haven't mentioned yet?
Well, firstly, what Perso said stands out is the draw that they've got is really tough. And just wanted to quickly say that most people would have Targo, May, Koala, Tuapanu, however you say his name, from the Manly, Burbo, Aiken, Firma, all those players, and then Suwali. So I wouldn't bring any in. if you have any, hold them. But I certainly wouldn't be buying any, not based on the draw coming up and based on the availability of those other players who, in my opinion, are cheaper and better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Timmy, any thoughts, mate?
Sorry, I just wanted to finish. I do agree with you that the only one I would touch would be Daniel Tupou.
Yeah.
He's solid.
That was basically all I was going to say, the same ones that we've talked about. I started with Sam Walker. He's been a bit of a letdown. I guess when Teddy's not there, he's going to be the main man with Keary, and they're going to get their hands on the ball a bit more. But, I mean, Joey Manu is always a great shout when Teddy's out. But like we were saying at the start of the show, I don't think Roosters can afford to leave Teddy out for too many games in the 4 or 5 rounds through the buys. So I think it's a case of they really need to finish in that top 4, and at the moment they're not really there. So I think Teddy's he's obviously the captain of New South Wales, but he's also the captain of the Roosters, and he needs to be there if they want to be finishing the top 4. So I can see him not getting Joey Manu not getting as many games at fullback as he normally does. And yeah, in the past they've had a fairly friendly draw during the Origin period, but I can't see that happening this year. He's still somebody that I've penciled in to bring in for round 13, but there's about half a dozen options, and it's just a case of weighing that up between now and then, who seems to be at the right price at the right time.
Cool. One question that I've got here, I'll go to Broad. So Teddy's out, obviously playing Origin, and we've got Manu goes to fullback. What are your thoughts on how the team lines up? Do you reckon Sawali goes into the centre position and then maybe Kevin Nguama comes in, or do you reckon Billy Smith comes into the team, Broad?
If I'm the coach of the Roosters right now, I think I put Radley in as centres. Then I'll drop him out 24 hours before. Then I'll bring the Guama in, but I'll swap him to the set wing position on game day. And then he'll get injured in the warm-up, so then I'll have to play Fifi. Look, I don't trust the Roosters. Obviously, they're chopping and changing that back line. Obviously, trying to find the right partnership. And I don't trust it, because you've got people like Billy Smith, Nguama, that are both, very good players on their day, but you just don't know what the coach is going to do.
And the other thing that with the Cam Murray injury, if there was any doubt that Angus Crichton would be getting a spot in the Origin team, I think that's kind of shown now. I think that's definitely going to happen. So that pretty much opens that Tupanua and more than likely Butcher for 80 minutes on that edge. Glenn, your thoughts on that, mate? If you got Tupanua, it's definitely a hold, yeah.
Oh, yeah, if you got Sicily, I'd hold him. I wouldn't be bringing him in based on what happened last week, but I definitely think Sicily. And, I mean, a lot of their set plays go to Sicily when he is in the side. So, I mean, I'd definitely be holding him for the bye round. Like I said, if you've got Roosters, hold him. There's none in there I'd be bringing in.
Mm-hmm.
Is Butcher worth a shout, Dan?
Yeah, well, he's very cheap. I think, what is he, 300 odd K at the moment, 320 odd K. So he's actually worth a shout, but I just don't see... It'd be the similar thing where I made that comment about SJ. You wouldn't bring him in now. You'd bring him in for that one game, and you have to trade him out when Angus is back. So, or he probably gets maybe 2 games. Angus might get a rest after Origin. But if Angus plays on the bench, then does he get a big rest for the next game as well? So I like Butcher, but it's a trade in, trade out for that 1 week.
I think
he's one of those old school buys when you used to get the 3 buys, and he might play 3 rounds. He'd be one of those guys you'd bring in for that. He reeks of that. But it's a bit harder now with.
Bring him into a round 17, make $100,000, and then flick him to someone who's
when you had the 3 games that he might play and he's not anymore. That's where the buys aren't quite as significant anymore.
Yeah.
So one of the options I was actually thinking about is everybody's going to Tuilagi now to Burbo. That was actually one of the players that I considered, was going to Tuilagi to him on round 13.
Yeah,
so
that's definitely an option.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Butcher. He always has been. I picked him up a couple of years ago in one of those runs, and it was just at a whim, and then he got more runs, someone got injured, and he got played. He's got a very Supercoach friendly game, but it's just one of those.
He just can't get the minutes.
Well, we all know that the bloke used to be Orbison, didn't it? That's the guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But how many minutes does Crichton play for New South Wales? I reckon he's coming off the bench this year.
Yeah.
He's not going to play the big minutes he did last year. So the chances of him backing up are pretty high.
Pretty good, yeah. Oh, he'll back up, you'd think, yeah.
Yeah. Another thing there as well is if Murray would have been touted for an edge with Yo getting 13. So who do you have on the other edge now? Does Angus stay on the bench? Who gets that other edge spot
He'll
in the Blues
probably,
team?
knowing Freddie, he'll probably stick strong with Sims and Frizzell.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't give a fuck. So over to Glen.
I'm with you, Rod. That sounds like a not our problem.
Yeah.
There's all these theories starting around, look, Aladu or Kolobatangi or someone's going to... Freddie's not going to change anything. He's going to stick solid. So
yeah.
One of them might get a bench spot to get them some time, but he's not going to start with someone that he hasn't started with before. We all know Freddie.
Yeah.
I think Madison could be a shout-out. Everyone says no, and it's because of his HIE injury. But geez, he's in some nice form, Maddo. And I mean, I wouldn't mind Angus Maddo in my side if I'm a coach.
I reckon Maddo's class at Origin than Kolomatangi and Olakoladu.
I agree, mate. I agree.
I reckon they'll bring him into camp.
Well, the best part about Origin is it's only 3 games. So you play one game and then you have a couple of weeks off, and then you play a game and have a couple of weeks off. Like it's the HIA is not a big issue to Origin. He could get hit in the head and then have a couple of weeks, and then he'd be back to play the next Origin game. So
maybe the third one if it's Maddo.
Yeah, that's right. But he'll be back in 2 weeks and just named every week for the next 4 or 5 weeks.
He's been in red hot form, but he's been killing it.
If I didn't know he was on the bench every week, I would probably think about bringing him in. But it's just so scary having a guy that caliber on the bench. Yeah,
I've got him in draft. He's doing well, but a 50-minute player, you're just not going to bring in a strike position like second row.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That's pretty much wraps up our team analysis. I think maybe moving forward the next week or two, we might talk about strategies in between the buys and looking at 17 as well. But now we'll move on to Glenn. You've got some questions there from some listeners, mate.
A couple. So, all right. So, what's his name? Jay John. I hope I've said that right. Jay John. What is a priority here? He's saying Turbo and Pangai. So what he wants to do, he's going to sell Aiden Fanua, Blake and Pappenhausen, right? He wants to know, should he bring in Garrick and IPAP, or should he bring in Turbo and Pangai? I'll go to you.
You got Aiden Fanua, Blake. Are you really selling him this close to the buy round?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I presume he's sending
if
him.
you've held him this long.
Yeah, I'd hold to the buy if I had him for this long.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I know he hasn't been overwhelming, great, but yeah, he's not been terrible. He had a couple of bad weeks, but I don't think he's been that terrible that you have to offload him before 3 rounds before the round 13
buy.
buy.
5 rounds ago, surely you're holding him for the next 2.
Yeah, that's what I'd be doing.
Especially with playing a depleted Manly side in that 13. Like if the Warriors are ever going to get a decent win, that's probably one that they really need to pencil in on their calendar. So you'd think guys like AFB and Lodge are going to have a really big week against Marty Tapau and Josh Alloy.
Yeah.
And if he's sold on the idea of selling AFB, you need to bring in, depending if he's an overall head-to-head player, you need to bring in the Garrick option there to cover that extra 13 player. But if he's sold on that opinion, then I can't talk him out of it. But I would very much encourage him not to sell AFB.
I presume that his trade is selling Pappenhausen, so the choice there is between Garrick and Turbo. I like either of those, but I'd probably lean towards Turbo based on ceiling, but Garrick based on buy. So depending, what your needs are in your team. And then the other one, as you both pointed out, was AFP to IPAP. I don't mind that one, but I think Pangai, that's sideways, really. I mean, what are you going to, you're going to make a trade, cost a trade to get you maybe 15 points more?
Yeah.
That really worth the trade. So I'm with you on that, guys.
Yeah, is Pangai a keeper? No, IPAP is definitely. So, yeah.
And then Zach Maitland asked us, should all our trades now be for round 13? Or he's elaborated on that. Or should I still be looking at bringing in the guns?
Okay. I think it's a combination of both. You don't want to shoot your left foot despite your right foot. I think you want to try to keep those points going up until round 13, but also try to. I'm not sure you guys. I've got about 11 players in my team now that are playing the buy round. I'm going to bring one gun in and one buy player in every single week if I have to. So that's my thoughts on that.
I'm in.
Depends who you haven't got. Oh, sorry, mate.
No, you're right, Perso.
Oh, it depends who you haven't got, I suppose. Like if you haven't got a Munster or someone like that, and you've got the opportunity to bring him in, then regardless, you bring him in because 5'8's such a barren position. Same with your Harry Grants. If you get a position to bring a Harry Grant in, and you haven't already got him, you'd probably you'd prioritise that over a buy player.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Like I'm in the situation where, because I started with Turbo, dead set Perso, you and I must have been about the only ones in the Podmasters group that started with Turbo, because everyone else was saying don't do it, and that's the only reason why I went it, because no one else was doing it. So
Yeah, that was a bit the same.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, so had to do something different. But yeah, look, it's now I've got to remember what the bloody question was.
Do you want to prioritize buy players or prioritize points?
So this is where I'm at. So I haven't had Munster. He's sort of one of the only guns that I haven't brought in so far, Munster and IPAP. And I've got the opportunity this week to sell Paps and look at like trading Isaiah Yeo up to IPAP and basically turning Paps via Ilias into Munster. And I think I still bank 100K or something like that. Unfortunately, I don't quite have the cash to turn Tuolangi into IPAP. I think I'm about 100K short the way things all work out. But yeah, it's that's definitely the play that I'm looking at. Certainly bringing Munster in. What I do with my second trade, I'm not quite sure, but definitely you've got to bring the guns in. It obviously depends where you are in the field as well, and whether you're a head-to-head or an overall player. But I've given too many overall players a really big head start, and I've got to chase points. So when Paps has gone down the last 2 weeks, both times, I think the first game Munster was on about 30, and then last week it was on about 50 when Paps went down. So the bloke scores 100 points in the second half or the last 30 minutes, and all of a sudden it's a different ball game. So yeah, Munster's definitely one that I've got to bring in. I've only got 9 players at this stage for the buy. So I really need to try and focus on bringing buy players in, but I'm not doing that at the expense of someone who's got the opportunity to ton up each and every week now.
Now, here's something I think might make you feel a little bit more comfortable out there for those with 10 numbers. So a lot of us have got Cook, Grant, Cleary, Hines, Munster, possibly a second one like Brown, or for me an Ilias, and then at the back you've got a Turbo Teddy or a combination or a Paps, you know what I mean? So if you're not in those positions strong, then that's where I'd be targeting first. And then, but other than that, the positions outside of that, front row, most people would have a Matt King, a Lolo. Then second row, you got your, you know who they all are. They're the positions that I'd be looking around, and most people will have between, I reckon, around 13 or 14. I think most people will keep their spine. You know, in the past, I've made the mistake of trading in numbers, like I said to you before, and just to have numbers. I think quality should surpass quantity.
100%, especially these days, Glenn, when you don't have those 3 buy rounds anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't have the luxury of bringing in a couple of nuffs to hold. You can get away with 10 good players will get you a better score than like a guy that's got 14 players, but like half of them are scoring 20s, and you've held for 5 or 6 weeks to get you a 20.
And the whole idea behind Supercoach, the guys that play it well, is generally to get to your best 17 as soon as physically possible, and then work around the buys with that. So you've just got to play smart. The trick really at this time of year is make sure you've got a full squad. You've got 25 players in your squad, so try and make it so that you've got 25 playing players. So yeah, having nuffs and things like that this early in the piece is not going to help you. You want to make sure you've got 25 players and use those players during the buys, because we've already seen with COVID and late injuries like Olakau'atu and stuff last week, guys are going to drop like flies, especially during these with the Origin period. Coaches, if players have got a niggle, they're going to get a rest, and you'll get blokes who'll come in for one round, and it's not a bad play for the round 17 buy. If you're looking to bring in enough for later on in the season, bring in someone who might get a one game and then bugger off. But that's about it. The rest of the time, you really need to have 25 playing players.
Yeah, I always have a full squad, as you know. I believe if your players aren't making points, they should be making money. And that's been my success every year, is that and the buy rounds. The changing of the buy rounds, this is where I usually make up my ground, but because it's not quite the same anymore, we won't. the last question I'll give to our guest tonight, Perso. It's a pretty simple one, and I'm not going to give it to Brod or to Tim because I know what the answer's going to be. Jay Don again. Do we see Manly putting a number on the Broncos, mate?
Oh, mate, to be honest, I think I'm going to tip the Broncos
Yeah, me too.
this week. It's an absolute quagmire. Broncos have been playing good footy. They beat the Sharks and the Bunnies 2 weeks in a row. So if it's one of the games of the round, to be honest.
Yeah.
The plus is that's actually the first game of the round. So
because no one wants to listen to.
Oh, sorry, second game, but it's on the Friday night.
Yeah, no one's
and
watching that
Bulldogs,
first one.
So
The first game that counts.
Yeah, nice and Bulldogs.
At
No
that
one wants to
stage,
watch
there'll still be grass on the pitch at that stage. Probably not Sunday afternoon. It'll
They'll
be
probably run out with snorkels.
That's it, packing in their floaties and snorkels.
Yeah, so it's going to be a round of bad weather, which is a great leveler in rugby league, as we all know. So I think the game will be a lot closer. Look, all of us that know football know the Broncos on paper are a great side. They just haven't delivered. And I think they've had a couple of adjustments. I think Cape Wall A-Ray are great signings. And there's I think T Martin at the back. It's great to see him back.
There's a definite grittiness to the Broncos this year that's been missing for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Last year we played the Manly team with the turbo that was in red hot form, the 6 again rules. I'm pretty sure Staggs was out. We didn't have A-Ray. We didn't have Capewell. We're a clusterfuck of a team. And bring in A-Ray's kicking game. He's gonna nullify Turbo's attacking stats on the way back.
You didn't have Haas and Capewell last week, and all the Broncos were outstanding.
Absolutely. I think the young guys that are in the squad have been there for long enough now. They've copped it on the chin, all the floggings and everything else. I think they've changed the way that they're training, they've changed the way that they're playing. And
how good are Carrigan and Flegler?
Absolutely. I really rate Carrigan and Flegler and have since they were two young guys coming in.
Apart from the fact that I bought Carrigan the week he got injured. He was my good pod play. Look at him.
We need to let viewers know who Brod's buying each round, so our viewers know not to touch them.
All right, so I'm taking Burbo this week, and I'm taking Ula Kawato just to screw everyone up on this panel. So,
all right, no, that's all the questions, mate.
Well, that kind of leads nice and neatly into our trades for the week. So I'll let the guest go first. Personally, any trades you're making this week, if any?
Yeah, I made 2. I went Tuolangi to Burbo.
Yep.
And I brought in Munster for... Who else did I trade for Munster? I had money in the bank. I'm in the same boat as Timmy. I haven't had Munster. That's been killing me. I nearly went Munster last week and I went Drinky instead, which wasn't too bad, but it cost me 60 points. But I brought in Munster.
Yeah, nice.
Do you reckon, Perso, just a quick question, do you think that trade was your logic in the long term, just the fact that the Drinky plays that extra round essentially between now and 13, that you thought the points would be enough to bridge the gap between him and Munster from now until then?
Pretty much. And
a couple of $100,000 cheaper?
Yeah, pretty much at that point. I tossed it, I changed it. Should I or not? But I just thought, no, I will. And I thought, I banked on it. He might have only got 70, but 130. That was the call. I said, I just got to have him. It's one of those guys where I just thought you try and think, he might just you just got to have him. He's just so far ahead of everyone else in that position.
Yeah. And that's been the interesting thing. Like I was saying before, 2 weeks ago, Munster was on 30 points before Pap went off, and then this week was on about 50 points before he went off. So if Pap stays on the field, all of a sudden those 150s don't look real flash because they're back to about 65, 70 or something like that for Munster. Different ball game. And
it was Taff. I had Taff stuck it, so that's who I got rid of. It was Taff to Munster and Tuolangi to Burbo. So I had a bit of cash up the sleeve. So that was nice.
Very nice trades. Brod, mate, your trades, mate. You already mentioned, you touched on them quietly.
Yeah, well, I obviously said who I brought in. I sold Katoa and I sold Lindsay Collins. Obviously started with Lindsay. There was a lot of word, especially last year, that they were going to look to get him bigger minutes, and so I thought this year he'd start to get it, which hasn't hasn't done it. Kept his 45, ish average, so hasn't killed me, but brought in the cash and the buy round player. So
Yeah, nice. All right, Glenn, your trades, mate.
Trade. I'm only making one trade, mate. I'm just going to Turbo. I'm resisting the Burbo trade. Look, I have Schiller in my side, so I do have an NPR. I'm tempted to trade Schiller, not because I want Burbo, but because of the flexibility it gives me to bring down Aiken. So there is a reason.
That's not a bad trade, Glenn.
Yeah, so that
I like it.
Yeah, that's one idea. But the other idea I had, but I'm not doing, was Campbell Graham. I was going to go Penasini to Campbell Graham based on the fact that he's moved to the left edge this side. But I just think, I want to hold trades where I can. And so it's either Burbo, Turbo, or just Turbo.
Can I just ask, does Aiken play this week, do you think?
I don't
It's
think
got
so.
a short turnaround. It's only 1 day after the protocol. If it was
I
1 day
reckon
less,
I reckon he's no chance.
Yeah. And that's obviously a big thing that, the people are listening, I wouldn't rule him in. And that's what's got me with my Katoa trade out, that I probably don't want to do straight away, because he'll probably come back into obviously Aiken's spot if Aiken doesn't pass his HIA.
He looked
He's a
in
pretty
all
short
sorts,
tofu.
Aiken, didn't he? He looked in all sorts, and it was, as you said, it was a 5-day turnaround. He's ruled out straight away. It's only a 6-day turnaround. I think he's got uphill battle to beat that HIA protocol.
Yeah, because if it was a 5-day turnaround, he's not getting named at all. He can't.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's only 1 extra day. I just don't see it. He has to pass every protocol without missing one, and that's a very hard challenge.
He looked
to do.
in all courts.
Yeah,
all sorts.
That's it.
So, I don't know, but who knows how it goes.
Yeah. Timmy, mate, any trades you're making this week, mate?
Yeah, look, the only one I'm sort of locking in at this stage is Paps to Munster. I'm still tossing up the other one. I traded pretty heavy at the start. I've now saved 4 trades, but I've used 4 boosts. So I guess when you do the maths, I'm trade neutral at the moment. But those boosts obviously come in handy, but I had to use them for the sake of trying to catch up. Yeah. So like Perso, I'm sitting about 25,000. So it's I've got to try to play things smart. I only used 1 trade last week. I didn't trade the week before. So, yeah, I've saved 3 trades in the last 2 rounds, and it's a tough one. Like I said before, I've only got 9 players going into the buy at this stage. The other one I'm looking at doing, I've got 190K sitting in the bank, so I could do I could go down to Burbo, and that, if it was purely for cash generation, that's not such a bad thing. I've got Targo stuck up in my second row at the moment, and I want to try and get him down. But I've got Schiller, so I could go Schiller to Burbo and then swap them around and put Targo in. But then I've got Burbo and Tuolangi sitting up in centre wing, and that's not really ideal either if something goes down like Olakuatu again. So, yeah, it's a bit of a tough one. It may end up being a case that I hold another trade, but it doesn't really help me for the buy. It doesn't get me any closer. The only other one I want to bring in is Lolo. I can do it via a couple of different ways, but again, I'm not really sold on whether or not he's the right play at the moment. He's not doing anything crazy like he used to do 2 or 3 seasons ago. He seems to be safe for a 55 to 65, and on a good day, he might get a couple more. But I'm not really sold on it. He's not making cash. He's not making big points. He's almost one of the ones where I just consider saving a trade and keep that trade for later on in the season, and hopefully pick up someone then who's going to bang out the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, my trades are going to be pretty simple this week. I'm still figuring out who I'm going to go. I'm more leaning towards going Pappy to Garrick this week. And then also that'll free up enough cash to go Randall to Grant and finally bite that bullet. So that's 2 trades for me this week. With captain choices, I'll start first. Mainly, I was going to go very vanilla and go Turbo VC and look at captaining Hines. It's very vanilla. But we all know that this round is going to be a bit of a wet one. So I'm toying with the idea of captaining, VCing a front rower or a forward that may get even a happy, safe 80, 90, and even taking that 80, 90 as a potential loop, because I think there's going to be a low-scoring match this week. So I'll move on to Glenn. Choice for captain and vice-captain, mate?
Yeah, so I actually like Grant this round. I
Yeah.
think because it's wet weather, I think Grant could actually be a good shout. And then I'll probably VC Hines. Or if I don't VC Hines, it'll be VC Turbo. It'll be one of those two VC. It'll sort of unfold depending on the weather, mate.
Isn't Hines playing the last game though? So
The
Right.
first game on the Sunday.
yeah, so
I think
yeah.
it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it'd be VC Turbo then. And
Yeah.
then Grant, it would be Grant as my captain choice.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rod, mate, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Grant's going to be my captain. But I haven't picked my VC. It was Turbo. But I might just go something a bit left field, which I haven't planned yet. So we'll see what happens. I'll see how many people get on Turbo probably first.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure everyone, if they're on him, they'll vice captain him. So
Yeah, true. Matty, your VC captain?
I'm in two minds whether to even worry about it VC this week and just go to C on Grant. But if I do, it'll be a VC on Grant, and then probably into a Sunday game because it's just a quagmire until Sunday. The Sunday is the only game that's it's still predicted to rain to about 5 mils, but everything else is just a quagmire. So I could be tempted to go drink water against the Tigers in the last game of the round for a
Good
C.
play. If I had him, I think that'd be the play there.
Yeah.
I don't mind that.
Bit of a pod play.
So I'll probably go VC Grant in the C drink water.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I think I'll be VC and Grant too now that everyone's doing that. So, Timmy, mate, your vice captain and captain choices this week?
Yeah, look, I was going to say Grant into Hines. Maybe Tomalolo in that last game if it's dry against the West Tigers. Bit of a left field, VC, maybe Cody Walker against the Warriors.
Yeah. That was one of the guys I was thinking about too, just because the Warriors are letting a lot of points in. Like we saw what Hines did to them last week, and they had 13 players and Hines only had bloody 12. So I was thinking the idea as well, but I got this little belief whenever I VC Cody Walker, I tend to get bitten. So I might just take his pod points and then we'll not VC him at all.
Yeah.
If someone out there doesn't own Grant and they've just got Cook wouldn't be a bad shout for a VC either.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely. I'm liking the South players this week, actually. I'm liking the South team. All right, guys.
That all season has been killing me.
Yeah, that's it.
That draw there, everyone brought in South players for the draw. Jeez, it's been rough. Walker,
All right,
when's he
guys.
going to kill it?
Yeah.
And that's just it, mate. We've all been talking about South's good run all season and everyone making their trades on South's good run. And
The run's over.
South's good run is over and it just hasn't eventuated.
Yeah, my plan was to trade in Latrell for that good run, and that didn't
brought
happen.
him in for that run. That was another thing that killed me.
No.
He got injured. He scored a try in the first minute, a couple of minutes. Yeah, we're on, and then that was it.
One of those years.
All righty, guys. That wraps everything up tonight. Pretty long episode tonight. I hope you get through it. Quite a few. I think we're going for about an hour and a half already. So, but hopefully all good content, guys. So tune in next week, guys. And we'll thanks Perso for coming on, mate. It's always good to have some special guests, especially with the insights that you bring to the Supercoach community, mate. So thanks heaps.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's always good. I love jumping on podcasts. It's good fun.
Cheers, mate. It's always good to
Cheers,
have you.
brother.
All right,
Thanks,
guys. Yeah. See you later, guys. Bye.
You guys.
Stay safe and be good, boys.
I want to win. I want that trophy. I want that trophy. I want that trophy.